Today I'm going to go over Surya Namaskara A and B, which is Sun Salutation A and Sun Salutation B. And these are traditionally used in a vinyasa style class, usually in the beginning of class to kind of warm up the body and get the joints lubricated and moving and get blood flowing and open up the heart and all of that good stuff. So, what I want to do is break down each of the elements of a sun salutation A and a sun salutation B and break down the specific postures and alignment in the sun salutations. It's just kind of a cool piece of historical information. So the sun salutations have actually been part of the yoga practice for over 5,000 years. It was originally used just kind of as you would think when you say sun salutation. They were intended for the beginning and ends of the day to be used at sunset and sunrise. So, in thinking about that, maybe you don't have a vinyasa practice, or maybe you're just doing a gentle type of a yoga practice, or you're just exploring and learning yoga. This is a really great exercise, the sun salutation A and B, to go through in the morning. So just kind of waking up the body, getting, again, blood circulating, waking up the joints, getting the synovial fluids moving, opening up the heart, all of that good stuff. So you could just take this element and instead of applying it in another type of home practice or yoga, you can use this to start your day or to end your day. So to get started, we'll start at the top of our mat. And I'm actually going to face you and then I'll come back to the top of the mat. We start in mountain pose. So settling in, finding an even distribution of weight between your 2 feet. And sometimes that takes some shifting from left to right. Maybe shifting a little forward and back. And then we want to find a balance of weight between the 3 points of our foot. So we have the heel, which is the center point of the heel, and then we have the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound. So finding an equal kind of amount of connection and balance between those 3 points of contact in each of your feet. And I should have mentioned this, but feet are about hips distance apart. You don't want a super narrow stance or a super wide stance. So feet are about hip distance apart, so coming straight down from your sit bones. And then once you find that balance, then we're gonna activate our kneecaps. So lifting the kneecaps and maybe feeling the backs of the legs fire up a little bit, maybe the calves. And then turning on your quadriceps. And that might create a slight activation in your glutes or maybe even in the low back. And then turning on the core. So taking your belly button and imagine it drawing in toward your spine. So really firing up your core here. Draw in, knitting in the low ribs, so avoiding any type of flaring out of the ribs, keeping those nice and tucked in. And then shoulders roll back, chest is leaning forward, a natural curvature in your spine. And then arms come down by the side, hands facing out in front of you. And your fingers are energetically reaching down toward the earth. Tucking in your chin and reaching out through the crown of your head. And this is a nice posture to start any yoga practice. So closing the eyes or just finding a soft gaze out in front of you. And just pause here and kind of feel the strength of this pose. It's a very simple standing posture, but maybe find the strength of this pose. Imagine like a mountain pose. And then from mountain, we're going to inhale, reach the hands to the sky for upward salute. And in this posture, we want to make sure that our shoulders aren't hiking up toward our ears, so they're sliding down our back. Fingers are again reaching energetically overhead. And the width of your arms can come out wider. If this feels too constricting, too narrow, too difficult on your shoulders, you can come out and reach wider. And then taking note, if your ribs have kind of splayed out here, and tucking them back in, but still reaching up from our heart. Our stance is still strong. Gaze can be out in front of you, or you can even look up overhead. Take an inhale, and then exhale, keeping a slight bend in the knees, hinge forward at the hips, coming into a forward fold. Allowing the belly to rest on the thigh. So that might mean keeping a deeper bend in the knee. Hands can be placed on the earth. And again, just like in our upward salute, we want to be mindful of these shoulders, that they're not hugging up toward the ear. We want to slide the shoulder blades down the back. Release the crown of the head. Let the crown of the head be heavy, reaching down toward the earth. Drawing the navel up and in toward that spine. And then reaching your sit bones up behind you. Taking a few rounds of breath here. If you've taken any of my classes before, you know that I say these forward folds are opportunities for introspection, to check in. How are you feeling? So just observing the back sides of the body. Maybe this is a nice release on your back, on the low back. Maybe you feel a lot of sensation in the backs of the legs. So maybe you back off and bend the knees a little bit deeper. Or if you need to increase the sensation without compromising the integrity of the pose, maybe explore straightening your legs. On an inhale, we'll halfway lift, so drawing palms to shins. Back is flat and long, and you're reaching out through the crown of your head. So the crown of the head is reaching out toward the top of the mat here. Your navel is drawing up and in, so the core is very active and engaged here. And imagine tilting your sit bones up toward the sky. Shoulder blades are sliding down the back. We're not hunching forward. We're strong, long, and engaged here. On an exhale, plant your hands, step back, coming into high plank pose. And we're going to do one vinyasa. So option to release the knees to the earth, or for a challenge, keeping them lifted. So from this plank pose, it's really important that the shoulders here are stacked over wrist, and we're not hyperextending our elbows. We have some balance in that joint. So finding strength and lifting out of the shoulders, pressing into all 10 fingers onto the mat. And then whether you have knees on the earth or lifted, you'll inhale, shift forward, so shoulders come over out in front of fingertips. You're going to exhale, lower halfway for chaturanga. Take an inhale. And then exhale, lower all the way to the earth onto your belly, releasing the tops of your feet onto the mat. And then you're going to inhale, press the tops of the feet into the earth and reach your heart forward. All this hair in my way. And then you can use your hands as some like power and leverage here, or you can practice hovering your hands and allowing this lift to come from your core, the strength of your torso. So the bend, the back bend, is coming from the upper part of the back, your thoracic spine. And then your low back is really strong, active, and engaged here. Pressing into the tops of the feet, pressing the pelvis bone into the earth. Take another inhale. And then exhale, tuck the toes, and we're going to push up back into our plank, whether knees down or knees up, and then lift the hips to the sky, coming into downward facing dog. Checking in with the alignment and posture of our down dog. Hands are about shoulder width apart, and you can double check that by just shifting forward into your plank. Your index fingers pointing toward the top of the mat. You're pressing into all 10 fingers, so that's strong and active. So if I were to come in into your home, violate your virtual space, and if I were to try and move your hands, I wouldn't be able to because you're so rooted, pressing strong and firm into the mat. And again here, we don't want to hyperextend our elbows, so finding some balance and some strength to protect that joint. Triceps are wrapped under, so like your biceps are facing one another, and you're lifting out of your armpits. And then allow the shoulders to slide down your back, your shoulder blades. Your navel draws up and in toward your spine, and you knit in those low ribs again. Feet are about hips distance. And you can have a soft bend in the knee or even a deep bend in the knee, depending on what feels good for you. So finding that slight bend and then reaching the hips to the sky. Heels reaching down toward the earth. No bonus points if they touch. If they do, it just means you have to work harder. And then maybe lift all 10 toes and release them back down. Gaze is in front of you, in front of your face. It's not looking back. You want to keep the integrity of the natural curvature of your spine. So we don't need to be looking back behind us, and we don't want to be cranking up in front of us either. So it's a neutral spine here. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. And then on your exhale, you can take a couple of steps. You can walk, you can hop. We'll meet at the top of the mat in a forward fold. Again, releasing the crown of the head. Allowing the hands to rest on the mat, or maybe they don't rest on the mat, maybe they rest on your legs or even a block. Hips are reaching up to the sky, and allow belly to rest on thighs, keeping a degree of bend in the knee that feels good for you. Inhale, halfway lift. Palms to shins, spine is long, shoulder blades sliding down the back. Exhale, forward fold. And then inhale, rise all the way up, upward salute. Exhale, drawing hands to heart center. So that was Surya Namaskara A. It's the simpler version. Obviously, it took it slower to break down each of the poses. So what I'm going to do is I'll take us back through the Surya Namaskara A, and then I'll take us through Surya Namaskara B, Sun Salutation B. All right. So from mountain pose, inhale, reach your hands to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, high plank pose. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower halfway, chaturanga. Exhale, lower all the way to the mat. Release the tops of your feet. Inhale, reach your heart forward. Exhale, push up through a strong plank, meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up, reach those hands to the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center, mountain pose. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through Sun Salutation B. Starts very similar with mountain pose at the top of the mat. Inhale, sit back, reach your hips down for chair pose. So in our chair pose, we want to make sure, again, our navel is drawn into the spine and we're knitting in our low ribs. Checking in with the alignment of our knees over our toes. So we want to avoid this kind of jutting out. We want to draw the knees in behind so we get a clear line of sight to our toes. Sitting a little deeper into the chair. Spine is long. There's a natural curve in the spine. Hands can be at heart center or reaching up overhead, similar to our upward salute. So again, being mindful of the shoulders shrugging up to the ears, relaxing those, allowing the shoulder blades to slide down the back. Take another inhale, and then exhale, coming into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high plank pose. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, lower halfway, chaturanga. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower all the way to your belly. Inhale, reach your heart forward. Exhale, push up through a strong plank, meeting in downward facing dog. So that little flow is very similar with the exception of the chair at the top. And then from here, we're going to step into our warrior one. And to do that, we inhale, reach the right heel to the sky. So making sure that your foot is flexed here and the heel is reaching strong behind you. Your toes are pointed down toward the mat, which means that both hip points are facing down toward the mat too. Take another inhale, and then exhale, draw the knee in toward the chest, round the spine, and then you're going to plant your right foot behind your right hand. The back foot is going to spin flat, and so your left toes are going to be pointing up toward the top left corner of the mat. Start to find a strong foundation in your feet. So again, finding those 3 points of contact of balance in your feet, and we're pressing strong in your feet here. And then inhale, rise up, reaching your hands to the sky. And then checking in with our alignment here. So our front leg, the front femur bone is plugging into your right hip socket. And the back leg, the left thigh is reaching up toward the sky and then plugging that femur bone into the left hip socket here. So we kind of have this like spiraling energy in our stance. Shoulders are stacked over hips. Navel is drawing in toward the spine. Arms are reaching overhead. They can also come down to heart center. And being mindful again that the shoulders aren't scrunching up to our ears. We're allowing the shoulder blades to relax down the back. And then if it feels good, and you can keep the integrity of the pose, sinking a little deeper into that right knee. Maybe reaching the heart forward, not dumping into the back, but maybe enjoying a slight back bend in your thoracic spine. Take an inhale, and then exhale, plant your hands, step the right foot back, take a vinyasa. So inhale, shift forward, exhale, lower halfway, take another inhale, and then exhale, release all the way down. Inhale, Cobra Pose, reach your heart forward, pressing the tops of the feet into the mat. Exhale, pushing up through a strong plank, downward facing dog. And getting the other side, inhale, reach the left heel to the sky. Again, flexing strong through that left foot, pointing the toes down toward the mat. Take an inhale, draw the left knee in toward the chest, round the spine, and then exhale, plant that left foot behind the left hand. I also want to note, you might, your foot might need assistance. So maybe you only get this far, and that's okay, and then you hop up a little bit more, or you just use that left hand to draw your left foot up. Spinning the right foot flat now, allowing the right toes to point toward the top right corner of your mat. Getting strong in your foundation. Feet are pressing firmly into the mat. And then inhale, rise up. Checking in with the alignment. So plugging that left femur bone now into the left hip socket. Reaching the right thigh to the sky. And then plugging that right thigh bone into the right hip socket. Sink a little deeper into that left knee. Stacking shoulders over hips here. Drawing the navel in toward the spine. Knitting in the low ribs. Option to keep your hands at heart center or reaching up to the sky. Maybe enjoying a slight back bend. Reaching that heart up a little bit higher. Bending in the thoracic spine in the upper part of the back. Take an inhale. Exhale, plant those hands, step the left foot back, take a vinyasa, lowering halfway, chaturanga, releasing all the way down to the earth. Inhale, reach the heart forward, Cobra Pose. Exhale, pushing up through plank, lifting those hips into downward facing dog. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward, and walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose, so sitting those hips back. Knees behind toes. Heart is reaching forward. Spine is long. Navel is drawn into the spine. Low ribs tucked in. Shoulder blades down the back. Arms reaching to the sky. Work to come to heart center. Take another inhale. Exhale, stand all the way up. Draw hands to heart center. finishing in mountain pose. So I'll take you through that one last time, taking out all of the cues, and then we'll have finished Sun Salutation B. So from mountain pose, inhale, sit back, chair pose. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Take a vinyasa, lowering halfway, chaturanga. Inhale, reach your heart forward, Cobra Pose. Push up through a plank, meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the right heel to the sky. Exhale, round the spine, step the foot behind the right hand. Spin the back foot flat. Find your foundation here. And then inhale, rise up, warrior one. Both hip points pointed toward the top of the mat here. Option to reach the heart, lift into a little bit of a back bend, or even draw your hands to heart center. Pause here. Take another inhale. Exhale, plant your hands, step the right foot back. Take a vinyasa, lowering halfway for chaturanga. Inhale, reach your heart forward for Cobra Pose. Exhale, shift up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the left heel to the sky. Exhale, draw the knee in toward the chest, round the spine, plant that left foot behind the left hand. Spin the right foot flat. Inhale, rise up, warrior one. Shoulders stacked over hips, both hip points pointed toward the top of the mat. Sinking a little deeper into that front knee if you'd like. Hands reaching to the sky. Maybe find a little back bend. Take another inhale. And on your exhale, plant your hands, step back, take a vinyasa, lowering halfway for chaturanga. Releasing all the way to the earth. Inhale, reach your heart forward. Exhale, pushing up through a strong plank, downward facing dog. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Exhale, walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Option for your hands to reach the sky or coming to heart center. Sink a little deeper into your chair. Take another inhale. And then exhale, slowly rise up, mountain pose. So that is our Sun Salutation A and Sun Salutation B. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. As per usual, it is an honor to share this practice with you. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste.